and hopeful attitude as we end this month of June. So as Cynthia has indicated, and you would have seen from your invites, my session today is about brain supports. And as we all know, the brain is a high performance organ that is always at work. It is an organ that we treasure very much because it enables us to manipulate our environment and be able to do such a wide variety of things. Interestingly enough, our brains are made 90% of fat. So then our brain works in conjunction with our nervous system as the organ of intellect. So the brain itself is not the intellect, just as the eye is not eyesight. So the eye is our organ of sight, and the brain is the organ that we use for our intellects. And then just to say, what does our brain do? Our brain makes sense of the data that is collected from the environment by our senses. So if you think about our different senses, our ears, eyes, our skin, all these sensors that we have all over our bodies collect data from the environment. This data is relayed to the brain, where the brain is able to make sense of it and respond to it, which means that our brain plays a very essential part in various aspects. So, for example, the brain is going to be helping us in, as I said, manipulating our environment, but also it will help us in solving problems, in retrieving information that we had stored in our memory. And in addition to that, it plays an important role in our personalities. You can imagine how much of our personality resides in our memory of who we are and the choices that we make. The way we express ourselves also is a byproduct of our intellect and therefore our brain. And so whenever we think about the brain, we know that, and maybe we have seen in unfortunate situations, such as when someone starts to like if an older person suffers from Alzheimer's and they start having memory problems, then you can see how much of their personality is actually diminished because of that reduction in their mental abilities. So in effect, just to say that our brain forms an extremely important part of our survival and various other aspects, apart from the instructions that it gives to the different parts of our systems in order for them to work well, which means that it is very important for us to take care of being in top condition for as long as we can possibly manage it. Just also to add there that mental illness is often stigmatized, and we as distributors should try very much to be prudent and supportive when we are dealing with clients or people within our circle of influence who have any kind of mental illness or some mental issue struggles, because they might already be dealing with the fear of the stigma, and we should therefore be sensitive to that possibility. Then I want to move on to 4 of the major aspects for protecting, promoting, and prolonging our brain health and abilities. We always hear that as we grow older, maybe we lose some of our abilities, and this may be the case, but there are certain ways in which we can stave off the loss of our mental abilities for much longer. And I will mention a number of them. I'll start with the 4 key ones that have been found to definitely play an important role in maintaining our mental abilities. The first one is exercise. Strange as it may seem, exercise plays an important role in keeping our brains sharp by enhancing our blood supply for a certain period of time as we are doing exercise and even further on. This good blood supply ensures that our brain is well supplied with blood, and therefore with all that is the raw material it needs to function at a high level. Then the second one from exercise is managing our bad cholesterol to make sure that we do not have high bad cholesterol. We may be aware that there are two kinds of cholesterol, one which is beneficial and one which, as a result of some of our physiological activities, is considered harmful. So it is important for us to have a healthy cholesterol level in our blood because making hormones. And so we do not see cholesterol entirely as just one evil thing. What we need to do is make sure that the harmful type is kept at a minimum and the good, which I'll come back to in just a moment. But I want to go to the third aspect of protecting and prolonging our mental abilities, and that is resolving type 2 diabetes. Because the problem to do with doing blood metabolism, I think that someone's, maybe you can mute your phone in case it is not, or your device in case it is not muted, because it's causing an echo. Anyway, so to go on, type 2 diabetes, that is when our sugar metabolism is not working correctly, has been linked to certain kinds of dementia. And for that reason, we should do what we in Neolife know we can do in order to get rid of type 2 diabetes from our lives. In that way, we'll be protecting very many other organs, because I think we have spoken on occasion about the effects of type 2 diabetes, and we know that it is going to affect things like the kidney. It is one of the leading causes of blindness. Is linked to some forms of dementia, that is the loss of our mental abilities. And then the fourth item in my list is good sleep. Again, we will have a topic in future about sleep and the important role it plays. And if you are new, maybe you have not had this particular session. But the important thing in the aspect of the brain and sleep is that since the brain is working hard all of the time when we are awake, it is during itself that is gets rid of all the toxins that will have been accumulating as a result of our mental activities. And so if we do not get good quality sleep, then our brain never gets that opportunity for detox. And that can be one of the ways in which we find that we are harming our mental abilities as time goes by. Especially in these days, it has become very popular to get very little sleep, either as a result of having long working hours or working extra hours, or maybe for entertainment and so on, that we tend to not prioritize good sleep. And that means that we may accumulate our sleep deprivation to the extent that we start causing harm. And some of these harms can accumulate so that it will be very difficult to reverse them once the symptoms start showing. So just to revisit the point about high bad cholesterol. So when you have this bad cholesterol in high amounts in the blood, it is harmful to the blood vessels. And this is then the harm to the blood vessels is one of the things that increases the risk of stroke. And stroke is when we have damage to the blood vessels in the brain, and there may be bleeding in the brain, which can cause a certain damage to some of the brain cells. So for that reason, our blood and vascular health, that is the health of our blood and blood vessels, plays a very important role in the health of our brain, because by taking care of the issues to do with cardiovascular health, then we're also taking care of the health of our brain. And so if, for example, you have your doctor or maybe pharmacist has indicated that your cholesterol is on the higher side, the bad cholesterol, because as I said, it's not all cholesterol, and to get into our heart and blood health supplements so that you resolve this problem before it leads to something like a stroke or even a heart attack, which I think we mentioned another time. So this, of course, means that we take lifestyle and nutritional steps that is going to normalize our blood and our blood cholesterol. And this can include things like exercise. It can include increasing the amount of vegetables and fruits that we have in our diet. And of course, we should opt for healthy fats and minimize the unhealthy factory fats that I think I've mentioned on several occasions before, because the factory fats contribute to inflammation in the body, and this inflammation can also have adverse effects on our brain as well as other organ systems. Then another point I wanted to bring to you is the problems caused by habitual excessive alcohol use, because this is often seen as just part of recreation and relaxation, but it can be quite detrimental to the brain and mental abilities, both on a short-term basis as well as on a long-term basis. Some of the damage that comes as a result of this is hard to repair, even after we stop the habitual excessive alcohol use. So it can be long-term damage that will be quite difficult to reverse. And so one should be cautious about the use of alcohol. Occasional and reasonable amounts may not cause much damage, but also to remember that women are more susceptible to the damage than men are, and that alcoholism also has got a genetic factor in it, which means that the use of alcohol for some people can quickly lead to addiction, while for others it may not. So these are things that one needs to be aware of. But as I think I've also said before, the fact that you have got a genetic predisposition does not mean that it has to happen. It just means that you need to be aware so that you are cautious about things that can lead to serious problems. In addition to the direct effect of excessive alcohol use, there's also the indirect effects. So, for example, drunkenness can lead to falls and head injuries, and it can also lead to lack of self-care, which can end in malnutrition. And in fact, people who excessively use alcohol tend to have deficient amounts of vitamin B in their bodies. So this is again another factor to take into account. And then I think I mentioned diabetes as a risk factor for certain types of dementia. Here we can include Alzheimer's disease, as well as a kind of dementia that comes as a result of having small strokes in the brain. If the stroke may be small, but the cumulative effect of small repeated strokes can actually lead to progressive loss of mental abilities. And the thing is, the problem with strokes is that once you have one stroke, it increases the chances of having another one. So that is why it is important for us to resolve diabetes, because apart from the fact that it has been linked to Alzheimer's disease, it is also linked to damage in the high sugar in the blood is linked to damage of blood vessels. So the sugar itself damages blood vessels. And when the blood vessels in the brain are damaged, then of course it means that the blood supply to the brain is going to be reduced. And this can, of course, then cause the brain cells to die, to starve to death, because they rely on the blood to bring them energy. And in fact, our brains are our biggest energy users. 20% of the energy used in our bodies is actually used just by our brain. So you can imagine what a big output of energy it needs, and what a serious thing it is if the blood supply is blocked or interfered with, because then the cells would be damaged or die, and then the part of the brain, the part of the body that the brain was supplying with those cells, or the activity that the brain was, that is why we see when someone suffers a stroke, stroke, they are going to have problems, for example, in movement or speech or sight. And that is because the cells in that part of the brain will have been damaged either by the leakage of blood from the blood vessels or from the lack of a blood supply. Then the next thing, so as we know, before I move on, as we know with diabetes, we have got excellent products to help with resolving diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And if we use this product as well as using the lifestyle changes that supports good blood sugar metabolism, then we can resolve diabetes so that it's no longer a part of our lives. And those products are Botanical Balance, Tree and N, and fiber tablets or the multi-fiber blend. Then moving on to the next point I have here is the importance during pregnancy for expectant mothers to include omega-3 salmon oil, vitamin B complex, and multimineral as their baseline supplementation to support the development of the fetal brain, the brain of the growing baby. So always, if we have expectant mothers in our circle of influence, our families, or amongst our distributors, then it's good to make them aware of the importance of these 3 supplements, especially to do with the development of the fetal brain, of course, with other things as well. But since today we are speaking about the brain, then we need to know that we need to start supporting the development of a healthy brain from when the mothers are expecting. And remember that our size as creatures is small compared to the size of our brain. So the brain is a very big organ in us, considering our size. And that is because our brains are very, very important in our survival and in our day-to-day activities. So just to know that expectant moms should keep that in mind. Then the point about exercise, I wanted also to touch on that again. Regular exercise, and it does not have to be something fancy, something as simple as a brisk walk, the skipping rope, it can be trampoline, it can be swimming, it can be jogging, and any kind of exercise that gets your heart pumping and leaves you feeling invigorated is important for mental sharpness. So why is that? It is because such exercises increase the rate of blood circulation in the body and therefore in the brain. It also improves our sleep, because remember just now I say that sleep is very important for our brain health, because it is during the deep sleep cycle that we actually detox our brain to make sure that harmful things do not accumulate in our brain and reduce its sharpness. Then vigorous exercise of this type will also improve our mood, which is also part of our minds. And then we know that exercise also helps to reduce our stress by dissipating stress hormones so that they do not harm us when they accumulate and stay in our systems. It also helps to alleviate anxiety and depression. Okay, then and other ways in which, so those were the 4 main ones that I want to touch on, and then going on to say other things that will be helpful is to be always learning. And of course, we are doing that now, but in other aspects, it's always important to keep our brains challenged with learning new tasks, new skills, new types of movement. So for example, if you used to dance when you are young, but now that you're older, you no longer do so, you can revisit that. We can learn a new language, we can learn a certain craft. All these types of things challenge our brain and what this does. And I want to thank our excellent distributor in Tanzania, Sister Claire, who sent me a very nice video about this. I always appreciate this kind of feedback from you distributors. So she sent me a very nice video about keeping our brains sharp. And one of the things that was mentioned there was the importance of ongoing learning of new skills and new abilities, so that our brain is made aware that it has to provide us with the ability to learn new things. Because as you grow older, for example, like myself, as you head to the later years, you may be afraid to try new things, or you may feel that there's no longer any point to learn new things. As I sometimes feel when we have all this new technology coming, every maybe 1 month, 2 months, there's a new thing. We might start feeling like we don't want to learn new things, or we are not confident in learning new things. But it's something we should resist. We should try to every so often find new things to learn. It's going to help our brain be challenged. Our brain then tends to rise to that challenge. Then the other that I want to speak about is the importance of the health of our guts to the health of our brain. So research is showing that there is a very close connection between our gut, that is our digestive system, and our brain. And in fact, when you've had people speak about having a gut feeling, or that a person has got guts, whereas we are speaking about the courage of their character. All this is now being found to be true because there's actually a very close link between our digestive system and our brain, which means that if our gut health is poor, then it could have an actual serious effect on our brain. And you may have noticed, for example, if you're going through a very stressful time that is causing your use, let's say, certain problems with the gut, then you may find that your mental sharpness is also affected. And more especially when we speak about the friendly microbes that live in our guts, they live in what we call symbiosis, which means that they are our friends whose activities help us. They are not like the pathogenic microbes that cause us harm and disease. This is a different group of microbes with which we have evolved. So they are our friends, and their activities actually contribute to heightening our immune system. They not in a harmful way, but in a healthful way. And it is also being found that when we've got a healthy gut microbiome, that has got a healthy wide variety of gut microbes, it helps us, our minds, to deal better with stress. And it also helps our immune system to protect us better. So our gut health, it turns out, is an important brain, or the loss of our mental abilities. Of course, also, if we are eating an unhealthy diet, it's going to harm many organ systems in our bodies, because, for instance, we may have certain food additives, chemicals that are added to food, processed food, I mean to say, and these can trigger reactions that can cause inflammation in our gut and even in our other systems, and this can lead to problems to do with our gut health, with our brain health. The same thing applies to the factory oils that I already mentioned. So then the next point to mention is that if a person shows signs of mental or mood disorders, it is a good thing to visit a doctor. So that is an important recommendation. And if possible, to see the doctor more than once, or to get a second opinion, so as to get an accurate diagnosis and medication. Unfortunately, in mental problems, prevention is better than cure, because most of the available medications for most of the mental illness are problematic when they're used in the long term. A lot of times the dose has to be progressively increased as they become less effective. So it is here again, prevention is very much better than cure. Then turning our attention to our new life products that are going to be helpful. We have omega-3 salmon oil, which I have already mentioned in terms of expectant moms, but for adults as well, and for young growing people. It is made of the edible parts of the salmon fish that is caught in the unpolluted waters of the North Atlantic. These oils help to fight inflammation, and this helps to keep our brains sharp. Then we have a herbal preparation that is called Mind Enhancement Complex. This preparation supports various aspects of our brain's function and brain activities, and this helps it will then help to improve functions like protecting our our recall, that is being able to retrieve information that is in our memory, as well as in our mental sharpness in problem solving, and so on. Then next we have coenzyme Q10, which helps in cleaning up harmful byproducts in our brain. Remember, I said good sleep helps with this. Coenzyme Q10 will then also assist, and this will ensure that our brain is in optimum condition, because there will not be accumulated toxins contributing to loss of our mental abilities. Next, we have vitamin B complex, which also plays a very important role in the supply of energy. Remember, I've said our brains are the biggest consumer of energy in our body, and vitamin B is important in energy production as well as in mood elevation. So it helps us to, when our mood is elevated, we are more able to see how to solve problems, and we are able to see opportunities. When we are depressed and laid low by stress, we may find that we don't easily find solution to problem, and we tend to find that our brains are moving slowly and our bodies are also lethargic. So vitamin B complex plays an important role. So the mineral all because these mineral preparations work together to help our minds to relax, and this will help us to sleep better. So this is multimineral. It can also be CalMag. Remember, multimineral does contain calmaganates, but we now have also magnesium, which is a standalone supplement, and magnesium is especially useful also for improving relaxation and sleep. Then vitamin E, as well as wheat germ oil, are two other supplements that are important as antioxidants for protecting our brains from oxidative stress. That is the byproducts of the brain's activities. So those can also be added. And then also have vitamin D, which we may need to supplement. It helps to protect the nerve cells themselves. So if you are a person who spends a lot of time indoors, or you are a darker skinned person living in a temperate climate, then you might consider supplementing vitamin D, especially in the winter months, such as we are having here in Southern Africa now. And then the two final ones I can add is flavonoid complex, another important antioxidant for the brain, and acidophilus plus, which, if you have it in your market, is an important addition for improving our gut microbiome, increasing its population. And remember, these gut microbes rely on fiber to survive, so we need to ensure that our diet contains plenty of healthy fibers, both soluble and otherwise. So this would be foods such as leafy greens and vegetables, legumes like beans and peas, and so on. So these ones are going to be useful in feeding our friendly microbes. So apart from taking acidophilus, we should also consider that we need to have fiber either as a supplement or from our diets. If you do not have acidophilus in your market, I always recommend that you include the fermented foods from your culture in your diet, as well as fiber, because then it's another way of, not as easy as acidophilus, of course, but it's another way of increasing the variety and the numbers of the friendly microbes that support us in our gut. So those are some of the supplements that we can recommend for a healthy brain. Of course, I do not mean that we need to take, I think I gave something like 8 to 10 supplements, but I would say that the first 4 that I mentioned would be the core. And in addition to that, you can check what else, depending on your client or your own budget, what you can add to your list. I can look at a few questions, but most of the questions we'll do in our Q&A session, which will be in the month when we are having recognition, the week that we're having recognition. So I see that someone has got their hand up. As I said, it's not possible for me to respond during the session itself. So if you have a question, please, you can either add it in the chat or you can send it directly to me in my number. So I wanted to just mention one out of a number of questions about brain supports. So the one I picked here is Alzheimer's disease, possibly because I mentioned it on a number of times this evening. So this is a type of damage that occurs to our nerve cells that leads to this disease. And this damage to the nerve cells causes the destruction of our memory and other mental functions. So it is often associated with older people as we age, but there can also be an Alzheimer's that comes from around the age of 40, which is actually quite a sad thing. But what we can do is, of course, the points that we have raised about protecting our brains and supporting its activities. And remember that by the time we are seeing these symptoms of Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, already a lot of damage has taken place. So that is why I say that in terms of brain support, we need to start early, not to wait until we see symptoms, because by then the damage would have been quite ingrained into our nervous system. So the supplements that we can recommend for Alzheimer's is Mind Enhancement Complex, coenzyme Q10, omega-3 salmon oil, and magnesium complex. So another thing to note is if a person should also have their blood sugar checked so that they find out if there is an aspect of pre-diabetes or diabetes, and if the test finds out that there's a problem with their sugar metabolism, botanical balance, and TRNN. So I see that it's time for me to bid you a good evening, but not before thanking you very much for your time and your attention. I trust that the session has been beneficial to you. And as always, the intentions of the session is to give you some information, but also to start you off on increasing your knowledge about our products, as well as the ways we can enhance a healthy lifestyle and thereby protect our health and make it easier for us to sustain a long-term health for the majority of our lives. So thank you very much. Let me hand you over to Pascal, who is ready to take you through the next session. And let me also wish you an excellent month end in which you are going to see your goals coming within your reach. And so we'll see you again in the next week. Thank you very much. Here's Pascal now.
Thank you very much, Betty. That is quite a lot of information about the brain that I should put in my brain. Yeah, I see there are a number of questions. I think that Cynthia will check on the recorded messages so that she can forward all those questions to Betty for next time's Q&A. The session I'd like to discuss with you this evening are two issues. One is income producing activities. That is the things that you do that make your business grow. And coupled with that is to increase our level of belief in the business. Just to give me a few moments, I want to share the screen with you. Okay, so what is, I see there are lots of questions here. So, Cynthia, just check the questions recorded. Once you recorded this, just 1 minute. Okay. All right. So, what are the income producing activities? You see, all of us, I think, most people join this business to make a bit of extra money. Some people join the business to use high quality product. Some joined the business maybe because they were being nudged by their sponsor that did look at the business. But if your goal of joining the business was to produce to increase your income, then you need to get involved in income producing activities. Those are things you need to do on a daily basis to generate income. That is what we mean by income producing activities. Essentially, the three basic things we do. If you notice that every Monday we say that there are three success habits that we do every day to grow our business: using the products, sharing the business and the products, and personal development. The income producing activities, one is using the products. Why do we generate income when we use the products? Because we buy the products at a discount, it means the money we could have spent as customers, we are spending less, and therefore we're putting some money into our pockets. So we are saving money. That is the first income producing activity. The next income producing activity is retailing products. That is speaking to people who express an interest in our products, but they're not interested in the business. And the third is prospecting. That is showing the people the business plan or model to get them involved in the business. Those are the things that we do to grow our business. Prospecting is inviting, showing the plan, and follow up. Those three things we need to do on a daily basis to grow our business. Now, let's get to the one that really grows your business and increases your income earning ability. Remember that our business grows through something called duplication or leverage. What is duplication? Duplication is teaching others to do what you do. In fact, you may say that our business is teaching teachers to teach teachers. If you learn what that is, transfer your knowledge and skill to the person you sponsored in the business so that they can do what you do. And what do? You use the products, you retail the products, and you get other people also to do exactly what you do. That is what really our business is about. So let's talk about the basics of sponsoring. That is, how do you get new people into our business? We discuss this all the time because the key to success is repetition. In fact, one of the cornerstones to increasing our beliefs, repetition. All right. So the basics of our business. How do we grow our business? How do we get new people in our business? We start, of course, with a name list, a list of people that we want to get involved in the business. Let's start with a list of 100 people. 3 rules about name list building. Number 1, write the names down. Don't just say, okay, I remember John, I remember Kamau, I remember Adeyemi, I remember Kazungu. No, write their names down. Because the more names you put on a piece of paper, the more room is created in your brain for your brain to remember more names. So write the names down. Second rule about name building: do not prejudge anybody. That is, don't decide for somebody that they're going to be interested in the business or not, because you never know. You don't know if somebody will be interested in our business or not. Okay? I remember a long time ago when Betty and I had just started the business, there's a neighbor of ours whom we looked at. She was very successful. They were working for the United Nations. Her husband was working for the United Nations, so we assumed, they've got enough money, they don't need the business. 2 weeks later, we saw this lady at a business meeting as a distributor in somebody else's team. And we learned our lesson. Never prejudge anybody. Don't decide for anybody whether they'll join the business or not. And then number 3, take their name off the list. That simply means talk to them about the business. Let them decide if they want to join or not. Don't make decisions for them. Let them make the decisions themselves. Sometimes you look at somebody and really make a decision and saying, this person, I think, will not be interested in the business. How do you know? You're not in people's mind. You're not in people's heart. You can't read people's mind. So show them the business and ask them one of the most powerful questions you can ask somebody in this industry. If I, will you, that means, if I send you this video, will you watch it? If I send you this link, will you have a look at it? If I send you this invite, Will you come for the meeting? That's a very powerful question to ask. And that leads you to step number 2, inviting. Inviting simply means asking the person to come and have a look at the business. That means you need to learn how to ask the right question, either for them to see a video or to go to a website or to attend a one-on-one or to attend a meeting. You need to learn how to invite professionally by asking that question I asked. If I send you this video, will you be able to watch it? If the answer is yes, then repeat the statement to confirm what you've discussed. So if I send you this video, you're going to watch it. When do you think you're going to watch it? And then keep quiet. Let them think and give you an answer. If they say, okay, I'm going to watch it right away, say, okay, so if I call you after 3 hours, you will have watched it. So you're actually confirming 3 or 4 times that they've made the commitment to watch the video or read the magazine. Okay? Once you've invited them to the business, show them the plan. Showing the plan is either you go for a Zoom, they attend a Zoom meeting or a large face-to-face meeting, or you do a one-on-one. When you do a one-on-one, I recommend that you should not take more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Why? Because if you spend a half an hour, 1 hour showing the business to one person, the prospect begins to think that for them to also show the business, they have to spend 1 hour with each person. They really feel tired doing the business. But the shorter your presentation, the more powerful it is, because it means that in 1 hour, you're able to show more than 1 or 2 or 3 presentations. Okay? Learn to tell your story. When you're sharing the story, what you did before you joined the business, how you came to join the business, what the business has done for you, either in terms of income or in terms of product experience, and then how the future looks like. That is showing the plan. Once you've shown them the plan, ask the 4 qualifying questions, the 4 closing questions. Number 1, from the business plan you've seen, did it make sense? Number 2, what did you like most about the business? Number 3, do you think you're going to get involved in our business? And the last one, if the answers to the first 3 questions is yes, just tell them, look, I think you're ready to start the business. When can I collect? When do you like to pay the money to get started in the business? You say that because most people don't know how to decide quickly or effectively. Okay? I see 2 people are raising their hands. I'm not sure if there's a problem. Joyce Cheng and Naifa. So I think that you need to follow up to be able to close your prospect. Follow-up is a very important aspect because most people do not make a decision after you show them the business once or twice. Most people make a decision after you've spoken to them 4, 5, 6, or even 7 times before you say, yes, I want to do the business. All right? That is the basics of, those are the income producing activities you need to get involved in. And therefore, you need to split your time in 4 areas. Number 1, your own prospect that you want to sponsor personally. Number 2 is customer that you want to deal with. Number 3 is prospects from your downlines or prospects from your team. And number 4, you need to split your time in 4 areas of prospecting for yourself and for the people in your team. So that, and the reason you do for your team is that, remember, your success is linked to the success of the people in your team. The more successful they become, the more you become successful yourself. Okay? And then let's talk about retailing. Retailing is when you speak to your prospect so that you can grow a customer base. 3 things are very important for retailing products. 1 is listening to the needs of your customer. How do you do that? You listen to the needs of your customer by just simply listening is not an easy thing to do from my experience, because listening means you not only hear what the customer is saying, but you also sense what they are not saying, either through body language or through their eye contact, or you notice that their communication is not flowing very smoothly. It means they're either holding something or they don't want to reveal everything to you. Listening is a very important skill to develop because it helps you get in touch with people's inner world. So learn to listen to the needs of your customer. Let me give you an example. I was speaking to a friend of mine last week, and they were talking about the challenges they're going through. And I kept asking, how is your life? What makes you feel that way? Eventually, I found out that they are got high blood pressure. They have the earlier stages of diabetes, and they are so stressed. Because of that, I knew the products to recommend because of listening to their needs. So I would recommend learn to listen to your customers as they speak. When people speak, they reveal their need for the products. Then the next step is you need to link our products with their need. How do you do that? Do you do that by having product knowledge? When you know what the products do, it's quite easy to recommend products to your prospects or to your customers. Okay, product knowledge is very, very important. Maybe if you're new, you don't know everything about our products, but take time. Every session like this that you have, take time, take notes, ask questions to your sponsor or your success line, so that you can get more information about our product, and then build good relationship with your customer. That is important because when you have strong relationship with your customer, and the one excuse me, the one excuse me, the one to use product, guess who they are going to speak to? They're going to speak to you because they feel good about the service you provide for them. Okay, so build good relationships with your customers. Cleaning products, I would suggest a cleaning range of products. Why? Because everybody cleans themselves or their homes. Not everybody uses supplements, but everybody cleans. Every home needs LDC and Super 10. That's a guarantee. So spend time. I remember Charlie Bolton saying this one time. He says, it's true that 60% of our company sales is health supplements. But don't forget that everybody, even people who don't use supplements, they use soap. They use some cleaning products in their homes. So pay attention to the cleaning. LDC is very critical because LDC replaces 4 or 5 or 6 different cleaning products in the home. Learn how to do the LDC demonstration in the home. Then Super 10 for heavy duty cleaning, and then Care Solution as a disinfectant. Then go to the healthcares. How do you build 100 PV or 200, whatever it is? If you meet people with diabetes, you already know that they need 3NN botanical balance. If you meet people with high blood pressure, you know they need omega-3, garlic, lipotropic agent. If you meet people with ulcers, you know they need aloe vera plus and chelated zinc. People with arthritis, Skalmag, omega-3, full motion, depending on which arthritis, either osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, depending on which one they have. And then people with prostate, cruciferous plus. So with this knowledge, it's quite easy for you to recommend products to your customers, and you start building a customer base. A very important thing that I'd like to speak to you about first is if you want to increase your belief level, first you need to have good care of yourself. You need to take good care of yourself. You can only help others if you're healthy and well. It's very hard to help others if you're constantly feeling unwell, you don't have energy, when people look at you, they realize you're really in challenges. It's very difficult to recommend health supplements. So take good care of your health. Number one is your physical health. Diet, exercise, and rest. I call it the RED principle. Rest, exercise, and diet to make sure that you've got good health. Number two, good mental health. Resolve matters in your family, reading good books. You need to have a stable mental attitude. And one of them is strength. How do you strengthen your mind? Reading good books, constantly. Read good books because we are bombarded by negative information every single day. Have business goals, have financial goals, and have good friends. Have at least 5 good friends. Ask yourself a question when you go to sleep tonight. There are people whom you can actually say, this is my friend. When I have a challenge, I can go and talk with them, and I know they will not disclose the personal things I've told them. Is there somebody whom you can actually call a friend? Somebody who you can share the challenges you have in your life? If you don't have, start searching for them. Last week, remember, we spoke about friendship. 3 things about good friendship. 1, mutual concern. 2, common interest. And 3, virtue. If you have a strong character, you will attract very good friends. Okay? So self-care is very important. And that leads me to, the thing that helps us to be to have self-belief. You need to know the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is initial spark that gets you on the path to success. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is what keeps you on the path. Motivation is driven by feelings. Discipline comes from our will. So how do you create a disciplined life that helps you build a strong belief? 1, have clear goals. Have very, very clear goals. Do what you need to do irrespective of how you feel. Have a good self-talk about yourself. Always picture yourself completing the task that you want to do. Okay? And do not look at what you're going through. Look at where you're going to. That means that don't pay attention to what you're going through, because what you're going through is temporary. That's why we say you're going through it. You don't get stuck in it. Okay, so know where you're going to, not what you're going through. And something very important I would like to leave with you before we end is this. I think most of you have heard that if you want to succeed in life, you need to have a daily to-do list. That's very good because it helps you to accomplish your tasks. But I want to recommend you a second thing you need to have. You need to have a to-be list. Apart from having a to-do list, have a to-be list. What is that? Every day, write down the things you want to be. If you want to be if you're a distributor now and you want to be a director, write on your daily list to be a director, to be a reliable spouse, to be a great leader, to be a Ruby director, to qualify to go to Mauritius. Write down to your to-be list. Your to-be list is to actually start programming your mind to increase your level of belief. Because remember, belief comes from the things you repeat. Faith comes from hearing. And when you hear something over and over and over again, you end up believing it. So if you want to be successful, have a to-be list. If you're a senior manager or an executive manager, you need to write a to-be list to be a director, or I am a director. I am a sponsoring machine. I am a great leader. Write a to-be list, and if you do that over and over again, eventually you will start developing the right attitude for becoming what you want to be. So apart from writing a to-do list, write a to-be list, what you want to become in the future, and make sure you create a mental image of what you want to become. There is nothing as powerful as creating a mental image of what you want to become. Remember that our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is imagined and what has actually taken place. There's no difference for the subconscious mind about those two things. So the quickest way to become what you want to become, create a mental image of what you want to be, write down what you want to have a to-be list on a daily basis. So ladies and gentlemen, you see, fantastic. I see Ann Gower said, I am a fully qualified software director. And write that every day on your diary. Every single day you wake up, write your to-do list one side, write your to-be list on the other side. If you keep doing that, you'll see how things will change for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for spending this evening with Betty and myself. I want to thank Cynthia and Alan for hosting our meetings every Monday and every Thursday. And I want to appreciate all the distributors of New Life for the great company you keep us, and we hope we have contributed something to the growth of your business. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless.